Hi, welcome to another episode of Good Cube Sunday in the Good Cube Kitchen. My name is Yassine Butler and I'm your host, and today we tackled ice cream cake, but not just any ice cream cake, one of my own ridiculous imagination. We made a German chocolate carrot cake. I know that sounds like a lot, but all of the flavors just kind of work together. It's somewhere between a chocolate spice gingerbread cookie meets a cake meets ice cream, and it's amazing. The center is cream cheese coconut ice cream with a rum candied pecan and raisin filling and a hard chocolate shell. It's a lot of different things, but somehow they all meet together to make this wonderful package. This is not a recipe for the faint of heart, so if you're going to try it, get ready to put in some work. Let me show you how.
First thing we need to do is make our carrot puree. Now, the original recipe called for baby food carrots or just regular puree, and I was like, nah, let's roast these things. Roasting carrots give them such a great depth of flavor and sweetness. So, I'm gonna pour probably a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of just some vegetable oil over the carrots, and then I'm going to put them in a roasting pan and just roast them uncovered for about 40 minutes
40
on
minutes on 400 degrees. So now we're going to make our ice cream. We're going to combine a couple of different techniques. First, we're going to use the liquid from our gelato, which is 2 1/4 cup of milk and 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream. Then we're going to add over about 3/4 of a cup to a cup of brown sugar, and then 4 ounces of cornstarch. Gonna give it a quick stir to combine for about 30 seconds, and then we're gonna start on our cream cheese. Cream cheese frosting is one of the defining flavors of carrot cake for me, and so I'm going to make an ice cream that mirrors that frosting. And so I'm going to take 8 ounces of softened cream cheese and combine it into the custard. After breaking the cream cheese up into smaller pieces, making it easier to combine, I am going to remember to temper my eggs with about 4 ounces of our custard and combining it back in and whisking heavily to make sure that it's well combined. Now I'm going to add over the cream cheese, and after breaking up those pieces that I broke up, I am going to use my hand mixer to mix. One of the cool things is because the cream cheese is already so thick, it replaces the cornstarch as my thickening agent. So the combination of the egg yolks and the cream cheese is going to give me a nice, thick, creamy, and luxurious texture to my custard. You can see how heavy those wakes are as I move the spoon through the custard. I'm going to take it off and I'm going to continue stirring it for a little while. The next step is to make my roasted carrot puree. I'm going to combine heavy cream, carrots, and milk to make this puree. I went with multiple colored carrots because I want it to end up brown, because I don't want to take away from the beautiful brown color of a chocolate cake. And so with these multiple colored carrots, I won't run the risk of my cake coming out too orange. The combining is really a trial and error. I'm going to keep adding over a little bit of milk at a time until I get the texture that I think will work best for a cake. Something a little bit thicker than baby food. Two and a half cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, a fourth cup of unsweetened cocoa powder, and a little bit of sea salt. So going to mix those together with a fork, and then we're going to combine our wet ingredients. Now to combine our wet ingredients. A cup of oil, 3 large room temperature eggs, a cup of packed brown sugar, and then our carrots. It's about 3/4 of a cup of pureed carrots. Going to combine these until nice and smooth before putting in and combining our dry ingredients. The original recipe called for milk, but my puree has about 1 cup of milk in it, plus the moisture of the puree, so I didn't add any. Going to slowly incorporate our dry ingredients about 1/2 cup at a time so that they are well combined and not overmixed. When you're doing this, you're going to need to make sure that you wipe down your sides. I'm going to realize that I forgot to include my melted chocolate in with my wet ingredients, and I'm going to add it over now. I rarely get to use my scale, but I want my cakes to be the same size. So I'm going to measure out to make sure that there's an equal amount of cake batter in each round. I put a piece of parchment paper at the bottom of the rounds and I oiled the sides. One of the central flavors for German chocolate cake is pecans and caramel. And so, thinking about how to combine those flavors with a carrot cake, I decided that I was going to candy pecans as well as raisins, which are a central flavor in carrot cake, creating a version of a caramel pecan combination that's going to go wonderfully with the coconut cream cheese filling. I made the decision to add the pecans over with the sugar because I really want a nice toasted pecan flavor. I'm really trying to make this as gourmet as possible. So at every step, if I can just add a little bit of something that'll make you go, I try to do that. Now you want to combine your butter, and you're going to do this about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half at a time. In total, I'm going to add over 3 tablespoons of butter to my 6 ounces of chopped pecans and my 4 ounces of sugar. Once the butter begins to melt, the sugar is going to leach and become really nice and sticky, and it's going to coat the pecans really well. With everything getting nice and happy, let's get a little more happy and drop over a shot of rum. I went with some Bacardi Gold, and the combination of the rum, the sugar, the butter, the pecans, it's all going to make this amazing layer to this filling that's going to blow my mind. You want to stir this constantly so that nothing burns. And now I'm going to add over about 6 ounces of raisins. I think equal parts pecans and raisins is a great measure for this. Now going to stir to make sure that the raisins are well coated. Because raisins are dehydrated, they are going to help with absorbing the excess liquid, which is going to make the candying process much quicker. Now it's time to actually churn our ice cream. I allowed our custard to cool in the refrigerator overnight. Off camera, I combined 2 capfuls of coconut extract so that I can have that delightful coconut flavor that is a quintessential part of the German chocolate experience. Time for a thick check, and I think this is about thick with 4 C's. And I don't want it to get any thicker because I do need to spread this onto the cake. Our ice cream has this really beautiful soft serve custard texture. It's extremely rich. The cream cheese makes it very smooth, and it has a thickness to it that's not weighty or airy. It's somewhere just in the perfect balance of the middle. So I'm going to spread it like it was a layer of filling, and then I'm going to add over our candied pecans and raisins. I decided to take the cake and push it down so that I can get a nice layer. And then I realized I'm going to need something to stick that top layer to the bottom layer. And so I added another layer of ice cream on top. And then I attempted to ganache it, and I realized that that wasn't going to work. And so I'm going to put it back in the freezer and let it freeze overnight. And then I'm going to attempt to frost my cake. I decided ganache was not the way to go, so I'm going to combine in my ganache some powdered sugar. The powdered sugar and the coconut oil combination seemed smart for a brief moment, and you'll see how the final result was not as brilliant as I thought it was. But part of cooking is experimentation. We live, we learn, and we make something better. So now my cake is nice and frozen, absolutely cold. I just took it out of the freezer. My coconut oil buttercream frosting is nice and set. And now to fight my cake out of the springform pan. Come on, you can do it, girl. Let it go. Give us free. Give us free. Give us free. And now, look at that ice cream layer. Look how thick it is. I'm ready to eat this right now, but we will finish it. Essentially, what happens from this point on is I attempt to spackle the outside of this cake with my coconut oil buttercream frosting. Because I use the coconut oil, it almost freezes instantly and solidifies, becoming a hard exterior. It's kind of cool. If I could have figured out a way to make it really nice and smooth all the way around, I would even say that it would probably be pretty beautiful. But I couldn't. So we have a very rough, very rugged German mountain. I don't know. At this point, I'm just making things up. You'll see what it looks like. My shell broke.
can see the back. Using the coconut oil was not the best choice because it became way too hard, which I knew, but somehow I thought that would work. I don't know. Let's give it a taste. Wow. Okay. So, remember the top had cracked and it had gotten all misformed? I took that piece and my unfrozen custard and my candied pecans and raisins, and I tried that as it was. And I'm going to tell you, it was really, really underwhelming. And I was kind of sad that this was going to be underwhelming. But surprisingly, one, letting it sit for a day. Two, actually freezing the ice cream. It all pulled together much better than I expected. You get the spice and the chocolate and the rum and the cheesecake. Mm. Mm. If I could change something, it would be I would have used Elton Brown's actual recipe for frosting instead of my shell idea. I like the flavor of the carrot in this, but I do think it's a little bit overpowering. I think I should have stuck with my first decision, which was to just caramelize the carrots. I should have just caramelized the carrots and mixed them in the way that I originally intended on it. And I'll probably do that on a separate episode. The real star of this, which it should be, is the ice cream. The mix-ins of the candied pecans, that rum. I think Bacardi's rum. I hope Bacardi's rum. I've been saying rum all this time. But the Bacardi Gold, the brown sugar, the butter, the raisins, the cream cheese, the pumpkin spice, the carrot, the chocolate. It's just all moving. Sometimes things come together in ways that you could not have predicted. And I'm willing to say that this is definitely one of those ways. So, thank you for joining me for another episode of Good Cube Sunday. I am your host, Yassine Butler, and as always, thank the good Lord for good food and good times. All that good is Good Cubed. Please follow me on all social media platforms. That's Good Cubed, GOODCUB 3D on all social media platforms. Thank you very much. Have a good one.